It's Christmas! I am here today to give you some winter thriller recommendations. Winter is perfect for some of those dark, cozy thrillers. If you need some thrillers at winter, as this is the video you need. I read a lot of thrillers and I thought, you know what? I've never done a recommendations video before. One of the things I want to do is recommend some thrillers to you guys. So, this is the perfect opportunity. Winter nights where it's dark and where it's cold and where it feels all creepy and spooky, perfect time to be reading some thrillers. So I thought it'd be really good if I gave you some thriller recommendations that you can read throughout the winter, because that is when these books are set. So the first book I'm going to get into, which I actually don't physically own, is The Snowman by Joe Nesbo. This is a story where a young boy wakes up one morning to find his mother has gone missing. All he can see outside is a snowman with his mother's scarf wrapped around it that was not there the night before. Then Detective Harry Hull, who is our main character, suddenly realises that over the years a string of mothers and wives have gone missing, and the only thing that connects them is a mysterious snowman that appears. Harry then begins to suspect that there is a serial killer working on Harry's patch, and Harry has somehow missed it. I read this many years ago and I did struggle to get into it at first, but once I was into it, I really enjoyed this story. It's so dark, it's creepy, it's set around Christmas time, and it's the fact that there's a serial killer leaving his calling card as a snowman, because you just expect snowmen to be filled with laughter and light and fun and joy. That's all the things you expect, and it kind of just takes something so innocent and so pure and turns it into something so dark and so cruel, and I love that. This is part of a series. This is part of the Harry Hull series by Joe Nesbo, but I've never felt the need to read them in order. Maybe it's required, but I haven't actually read any of the others. I've only read The Snowman, and I found that quite simple for me to get into, so I don't think it's actually quite a required thing for you to read them in order. Definitely not The Snowman, I would personally say. Keeping on the train of thrillers that are parts of series, I'm going to recommend Merry Christmas, Alex Cross by James Patterson. A lot of you will know me for loving Alex Cross. You will know that Alex Cross is one of my favourite book characters, one of my favourite book series. I have just purchased book 30 in this series. This one is part of that series, but it's like an additional extra. It doesn't have to be read in line with the other books. You could just read this one separately, which is excellent if you just fancy dipping in for a nice Christmas thriller. So this book features Detective Alex Cross, who is about to settle down for a nice cozy Christmas with his wife, children, and grandmother. Just as they are about to sit down for dinner, Alex, who is a detective, gets a phone call telling him that he has to go to the scene of a crime. A man has taken his ex-wife and children hostage and is threatening to murder them on Christmas Eve. Just as this situation peaks, there is another explosive incident, an incident that is unforeseen and could cost the lives of many people. You know I love Alex Cross. If I was going to recommend a series to you about a police detective, it would be this one. I love the series, and I do believe that this is a good book where you don't have to read the rest to understand what's going on. It's simple enough, it's a lot of fun, and I think that's the same with a lot of Alex Cross books. You don't need to read them in a specific order. The only kind of thing that means you should is that there is a lot of detail to his family life and his personal life and things like that, which does really enhance the experience, but it isn't necessary. So this is a good book if you want to get into a nice Christmas Eve dark hostage situation kind of vibe. Now the next book I have is one that I have not read yet, but it is actually part of my winter TBR, and that is The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. This is a book that has been recommended to me quite a bit. Apparently it's set on New Year, so it's perfect for those dark winter nights. This follows a group of friends that meet up in an old hunting lodge in Scotland for New Year. Then one of the party ends up dead, and they soon discover it was not an accident, but murder. I have not read this yet, so I really can't give you my thoughts on it, but I am planning to read it. I read The Guest List by Lucy Foley earlier in the year, and I think it was a good book. I really enjoyed it. A lot of people have read this one, and it has been highly recommended, but it definitely already gives me these dark, creepy vibes, and because it's set at New Year, I imagine being sat there with a hot chocolate, reading this book, getting the really dark New Year vibe. I'm feeling it. I am feeling it. I'm excited to read it. If anyone wants to join reading this, perfect, please feel free. I'm doing this book as a buddy read with one of my friends. So if you fancy joining in, let me know, because this would actually be perfect for a New Year read. Now, the next two books I have are actually quite similar, so I'm going to go through these. The first one I have is One by One by Ruth Ware. I got this book quite recently, I read it recently, and I really enjoyed it. This follows a group of work colleagues who go to a ski lodge for a company retreat. Then they end up trapped there and things turn sinister. One of them ends up going missing and everyone is left to wonder whether the person just disappeared in the snow and it was a complete accident, or whether there was something more sinister going on. I read this and I thought it was so intriguing. I was hooked from the first page. I did guess who did it, but I read a lot of thrillers, so it's kind of understandable if I guessed this. I think it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of mystery, a lot of intrigue, and I do feel as though as it got further and further, it built so well. I feel as though it wasn't rushed, it wasn't too slow. It was very well timed. I liked how the characters were written, because they were written to be unlikable, and I loved that. It's just a group of unlikable characters and you suddenly come to realise that not all of them are going to make it out alive. And you're left to think, who is doing this? Who is going to make it out alive? And what is going on? And I really thought it was a good book. So if you fancy giving it a go, this is a really nice, wintry, snowy vibe, all about skiing. It is excellent. Give it a go. And the final book I'm going to recommend is a book I'm actually currently reading, and that is Shiver by Ali Reynolds. This is a story that follows a group of old friends who meet up in a ski lodge for a reunion. Once they arrive, they suddenly realise that they've been invited by each other, and actually no one knows who it is that actually invited them, as they were all under the assumption that it was another member of the party. Whilst there, they do an icebreaker game to familiarise themselves with each other after such a long break away from each other, only to find out that some of the truths that appear in this icebreaker game hint to a terrible incident that happened 10 years previous. This book follows two narratives, one where it's present day and they're stuck in the lodge trying to find out who has got them all together, why, and what it has to do with the events that happened 10 years previous. We also follow a narrative from 10 years previous where we find out more about characters and what they were like back then, as well as learning about a character that is not with them anymore and what happened to them. And it's very interesting. I'm not finished, like I'm literally here into it, so I'm not too far in, but so far I am hooked. Every day I've written a list of theories down, I'm suspecting everyone, and this story follows a group of competitive snowboarders who back in their youth 10 years ago were very competitive to the point where something deadly happens and we have to figure out what. And then 10 years later we're here trying to figure out just what happened those years previous and how all of these stories tie together, as well as what everyone is hiding. I'm hooked. I think the characters are so well written. I can see the competitive edge. I can look at each individual character and say, you could definitely do this, as well as you would not do this. Like, the characters are so well written, you can see how dark they are, you can see how competitive they are, but you also really love them and you hope they didn't do it. It's really good. I love this. It's very similar to One by One in the sense of it's a group of people in an old ski lodge. Well worth giving a go because it really has that winter Christmassy vibe, as well as being really dark and scary. And those are 5 books I am recommending that are thrillery, wintry, and perfect for this very dark and scary season. Let me know down in the comments if you have read any of these, and if you've not, let me know which one sounds the most interesting to you. I really appreciate you guys coming, so if you have made it this far, leave me something wintry, whether it be a snowman, a snowflake, skiers, anything that's wintry, Christmassy, let me know. And that is it from me, guys, so thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure you give me a like and a comment down below and a subscribe and all of that stuff. And other than that, I will see you guys later. Bye.
Safe music. musiclist.com, royalty-free music for marketing and promotional videos.